This tutorial is for making two separate roses, one scrubby yarn and one regular. Okay, for this project you're going to need your Red Heart Scrubby Sparkle. I have a size I crochet hook, 5.50 millimeter. I have a needle for weaving in the ends. I prefer a blunt needle, but I don't have it handy at the moment. And of course a pair of scissors for trimming your ends. And I got this yarn at Hobby Lobby. I picked up this flyer. You can make a shower scrubby, which is a little bit larger. I'm making the smaller one, which is for dishes. And I'm also going to possibly try to make this pattern as we go along in a regular yarn, because it's kind of hard to see this yarn as you're working. So this might help a little bit. We'll see how it goes. All right, let's get started. All right, we want to leave a long tail on this project for weaving end. And I would say, maybe close to 12 inches. And go ahead and make your slip knot. The way that I make mine is I wrap it around 2 fingers, come around the back, cross over, grab the front yarn, grab the yarn in the back and pull it through, and then I just slip my fingers out and pull it tight. Okay, I'm going to do this. This is actually a J. This is a larger hook that I'm going to use on here for just a sample so you can see better. So my slip knot is first, and then we are going to chain 36. Okay, so to chain, you pull up the yarn and just pull it through that loop that was on the hook, and grab it again and pull it through. Grab it again, pull it through, and we're going to do 36 of those, and we're going to do 36 on the scrubby yarn. And this is just to help you see better as we do this particular pattern. Okay, I'll meet you back after we finish doing 36 chains. So I've chained 36 in the scrubby yarn and in the regular yarn. And now we're going to do our first row. There are only 3 rows in this pattern, so it works up pretty quickly. And let's get going on the first row. All right, on the first row, we have to double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So here's our 3rd chain. We're going to do double crochet. We wrap the yarn around. We go into that 3rd chain from the hook, pick up the yarn, go through that loop, and pick up the yarn again, go through 2 loops, pick up the yarn again, and go through 2 loops. All right, now I'm just going to pull this yarn out a little bit, set it down, grab the scrubby yarn, and put my hook back in. Now we're going to use the scrubby yarn. Do the same thing with the scrubby yarn. We're going to count 3 chains from the hook. All right, so that is, let me see if I can get in closer. 1, 2, 3, does not matter where in the chain that you put the hook. And we're going to do a double crochet. Let me just tighten this up just a little. And we're going to do a double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. Go through 2. See if I can get closer so you can see what I'm doing. And go through 2. Okay. All right, now we are going to skip 2 stitches and double crochet into the next stitch. So we're going to count 1, 2, those are the 2 chains, and we're going to go into the 3rd chain and do a double crochet, and then we're going to chain 2, and we are going to do another double crochet in that same chain. So there it is, and wrap the yarn over, go into that same chain, pull up the yarn, go through 2 and go through 2. All right, so that's what we did. We did our double crochet, we skipped 2 chains, we did a double crochet, chained 2, and did a double crochet in that same loop. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this with the scrubby yarn, which is harder to see. And of course, if you just want to work with the scrubby yarn, you can just skip past the regular yarn tutorial. So we're going to skip 2, and that's the one that we're in. I'm going to skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and I'm going to go into this 3rd chain, and I'm going to do a double crochet right here. Pull up the yarn, pull up the yarn again, and go through 2 and go through 2. And now I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and I'm going to go right back into that same chain where I did the double crochet and do another double crochet. And here we go. Okay. It's a little bit hard to hold in your first row because there's not much yarn that you're holding on to. So the second row, when we come back, it'll be a little bit easier. All right, this pattern is going to repeat all the way down to the end. So you want to skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and go into the 3rd one. Do a double crochet by wrapping your yarn around the hook. Put your hook into that chain, wrap the yarn around, come back through, wrap the yarn around, come through 2, wrap the yarn around, come through 2, and chain 2, 1 and 2, and do another double crochet in that same chain. So there you have it. So you're going to continue that all the way down to the end, and I will meet you at the end. Let me go ahead and do the scrubby real quick. Skip 2 chains, 1, 2, go into the next chain and do a double crochet. Go through 2, go through 2, chain 2, 1, 2, go back into that same chain and do another double crochet. Continue this pattern, skipping 2, going into the 3rd chain, do a double crochet, chain 2, another double crochet in that same chain, and I'll meet you down at the end. Okay, when you come down to the end, you should have 3 chains left, so that you will skip 2 and do this pattern in the very last chain. Yarn over, pull up the yarn, go through 2 and go through 2, chain 2, and another double crochet in that last chain, go through 2 and go through 2. Alright, so we finished that here, and then what we're going to do is chain 2 and turn our work. At the very end, we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. And we're going to work back on row 2, coming back this way. Now, with the scrubby yarn, I went ahead and finished my end. What happened was I did not have 3 chains. And I think I only had 2. But I went ahead in the very last chain and made that pattern. That's what happens with the scrubby yarn. You can mess up, but you can't see it in this particular yarn, so it doesn't matter. So if you didn't end up with the 3 chains at the very end, you only ended up with 2, or 1 for that matter, just do the pattern in the very last chain, and then chain 2 and turn your work. So chain 2, and we'll turn our work, and we're going to go back the other way. All right, now we're doing row 2. We've chained 2 and we've turned. Now what we're going to do is a double crochet in this space right here, which is considered our chain 2 space. So we're going to do a double crochet right here. And the chain 2 that we did right here acts as a double crochet. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 2 more double crochets into that same chain 2 space. So here's 1, and here is 2, and then we're going to continue in the chain 2 space, which will be this next one here, and this time we will be doing 2 double crochets, a chain 2 and 2 double crochets. So here's the first double crochet, here's the second double crochet, and then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and go back into that same chain 2 space, pull up the yarn, do 2 more double crochets, and we're going to do the same thing with the scrubby yarn. And we're going to do this pattern all the way down to the end. And here's the scrubby yarn. I've chained 2. And in my chain 2 space, which is this right here, I'm going to do a double crochet, and then I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. I'm doing another double crochet, 2 more double crochets actually in that same chain 2 space. Here's the first one, 1 and 2, and then we're going to continue that pattern. This chain 2 right here acts as a double crochet. So in the next chain 2 space, we're going to do 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And I'll meet you down at the end. All right, I've come down to the end. this pattern says when you come down to the end, you chain 2 and turn your work. But what I like to do in this very last corner here, where you have your chain 2, I like to do 2 more double crochets, because what we're going to do is roll this up at the end, and that just doesn't look like it's finished to me. And I don't think that we want to do a complete pattern at the end, so I'm just going to do 2 double crochets right here. Okay, and your work should be curving like so. And now we're going to chain 2 and turn. 1, 2, and we're going to turn. And I'm going to stop here and grab the scrubby yarn. So if you're watching this pattern with the regular yarn, you'll see that I came to here and the pattern says to chain 2 and turn your work, but I feel like I need to do a little bit more. So in this little chain 2 corner here, I'm just going to double crochet 2 times. So here's 1 and 2, and now I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. Alright, now we're going to do row 3, which is the last row. Alright, we've chained 2 and turned our work, and we're going to do row 3, which is the last row. The pattern calls for doing 5 double crochets in the next chain 2 space, which is this one right here. And then we're going to go to the next chain 2 space and do 6 double crochets. Go to the next one and do 6 double crochets. So we're going to do that all the way to the end. But I guess it's counting this one as a double crochet, and that's why we only do 5 here. So I'm going to do 5 double crochets. Sometimes there can be mistakes in written patterns. Sometimes they're not very easy to understand, which is why it's so great to have YouTube, where you can actually watch a video on how to do crochet, which is how I basically taught myself. I did crochet when I was a teenager. I made one little thing that my sister taught me, and then I didn't pick it up again until about 10 years ago. And yeah, we're talking about around 40 years before I started crocheting again. Okay, so I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've got to do one more. All right, so we have our 5 double crochets. Again, this is strange to me. This is a chain 2, so to do 5 double crochets, and now we're going to do 6 in the rest of them. But maybe they know what they're talking about. So we're going to do 6 double crochets in each chain 2 space until we get down to the end. And I'll meet you back at the end, but first I'm going to do the scrubby. Okay, so with the scrubby we chained 2 and we turned our work. Now we're going to jump right over to this chain 2 space, and we're going to do 5 double crochet, and then we'll jump into the next chain 2 space, do 6 double crochet, jump into the next chain 2 space and do 6 double crochet, and we'll do that down to the end. So let's go ahead and do the 5 double crochet in the first chain 2 space. So this is 1, 2, 3, there. Let's try that again. This is the second one. And the third. And the fourth. And the fifth. Okay. So continue this pattern with 6 double crochets in the next chain 2 space, 6 double crochets in the next chain 2 space, and so on. And we'll meet you back at the end, and I will show you how we roll this up into a rose. All right, this is the end of row 3, our final row. We have one more spot here to do 6 double crochets, and then I'll show you how we roll it up into a rose shape. This is my second double crochet, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so what you're going to do here is cut your yarn, make it nice and long because we're going to use it to weave in the end, and we're going to need a lot. So a good 12 inches or more. Cut your yarn, pull it through nice and tight, pull it nice and tight. We're going to take the end. We have a nice horseshoe shape. We have our ends on one side, and all we're going to do is roll it up, and there you have your rose. Now you can make it as loose or as tight. You can play with it and make it even tighter. So it's more of like a bud just beginning to open. And you can use this on a hat, on a purse, whatever other crochet project or some type of craft that you'd like to put it on. What we're going to do here is take this piece, we are going to sew it, we're going to use our needle and just weave in the yarn. So this is in place. We're going to take this piece and we're going to close this up right here, and we're going to weave it through all the layers. So what I do is put my finger in, so I've got it held in place as I'm using the needle, and we're going to weave in and out to grab all of the layers and finish it up. And then you have your crochet rose here, and I'm going to do the scrubby rose. We're going to make the leaf, show you how to do that with the handle and how to sew that on. Okay, next up, we're going to take the straggler at the top of the rose. We're going to weave this in and out along the side to bind that together. And we're going to take the bottom straggler and we're going to weave in and out across the bottom to get that together. I will probably put my finger in the middle to kind of help me hold on to it while I do this. And if you're using a blunt needle, which you should use for this, you don't have to worry about poking yourself. And then we will make the leaf and put that on. And the handle. Alright, so I've got my yarn threaded through the eye of my needle. This is a plastic needle. It's not really sharp, but I do recommend a blunt needle for this. And we're going to, I've got my finger down the center of the rose. I'm going to go ahead and sew the bottom up first. And basically all you do is weave in and out. Just take the needle. You see these layers? I'm trying to get through all the layers, and I can feel my finger in there because I want to get through all the layers. I did not tie my yarn on my needle. You can do that if that's what you normally do. That's fine. And I'm just going to go, I'm grabbing a layer in there and then coming back down and through. And just keep doing this. Until you've got it closed. And then we're going to stitch up the side of the rose. I'm going to go down and grab some more of that layer down there and then come up. Okay, and then what I do to finish off, come through one more time, is go through, pull some of that end in. Oops. Let me show you that again. Okay. What I like to do when I finish off is go through my last stitch, and then I go through the loop of the yarn before I bring it all the way through, and then just go through that loop to tighten it up. And you can do that one more time. You can just go through a couple of pieces of yarn, go through the loop, and that just tightens it up. And then just cut it off at the base here. Let me grab my scissors. We are ready to do the side of the rose. Stitch it together. There's the end of my yarn where I finished off, and I'm just going to go right in here and go through. And I'm going to come back through on the other side. And I'm going to go back through here to the inside again. And I'm just picking up my needle inside the petal part. And I'm going to go back down through there. Grab it again. I'm going to do this all the way to the end, which is right here. And right here I'm just going to put it through this way. And just stick it through again. At any point, this is kind of, it doesn't really show up. This is not like you're sewing a pair of polyester pants or anything like that. So it doesn't show. This is going to be the part that you're going to sew onto a hat or a purse or what have you. So you won't have to worry what this looks like on the back. And I'm just going to go through this one more time here, and I'm going to go through my loop just to tighten it. There we go. And one more time. And through the loop, and tighten it, and then cut it off. Okay, good to go. Now we're going to do the Scrubby Rose, and we're going to finish it off, and we're going to make the handle. So here's your regular rose. I ended up doing a double pattern, and with regular yarn and one with scrubby yarn. So there's that one. Now we're going to roll up our scrubby yarn into a rose. I'm going to take that same needle and I'm going to sew up the bottom first. I didn't leave a really long tail on here. I would suggest maybe possibly leaving a little bit longer than what I've left, but this may do just fine, maybe sufficient. Okay, I'm going to put my finger in the top so I can feel it as I sew and I can hold it in place. Again, this yarn is not the easiest to see. And I'm just going to go through, grab the yarn. I see how I'm working my way down into the rose so that I can grab some of the other layers and just push that through. And then come back in on the other side. And come back through, tighten it up, go back through on that side, tighten it up. Okay, you don't have to worry about getting it too many stitches too tight because we're going to sew the handle on and the leaf, but just make sure that it's tight enough where it's not going to be falling apart. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to grab the loop right here. This is to finish off. Grab that loop to make it tighter, and I'm going to make one more loop. Okay. And I'm just going to cut it right here. Now I'm going to do the side piece, and I left plenty on this one, probably left more than I need, and we're going to just sew up the side. I don't know how you all like the fact that I did two roses, one with regular yarn and one with scrubby yarn on the same video. I think it might help some people as you're making it to really see what you're doing, because it is pretty hard to see this. I don't have good lighting on this either. Sorry about that. Alright, so you just, here it is, and I'm just putting my needle through. I'm just going to go on the other side here and pull it through. And then come back in. I think that piece got a little bit too loose here. There we go. Now I'm just going to do it right on the edge here. And I'm just going to sew this together all the way down to the bottom. And then do my loop to finish it off. There's my loop. I'm going to stick the needle right through there, pull it tight. I'm going to do it one more time, just anywhere. Go through that loop and pull it tight, cut it off. Okay, now we're done. And there you have the Scrubby Rose ready to put the handle and the leaf on so that it will look like this one. This one came out a little bit bigger. I might have used a bigger hook. This is an I. This might have been a J. All right, now we're going to make the handle for the Scrubby Rose. And make your slip knot. Give yourself a decent tail, I don't know, 6 inches maybe, and make your slip knot. And we're going to chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The pattern actually calls for 10, but I like to do 12 because the other ones that I've made seemed like 10 was not long enough or wide enough for my fingers to go through. So that's why I do 12 instead of 10. And there's only 2 rows to this. So the first row we're going to half double crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then we're going to half double crochet in each chain to the end. All right, we're going to half double crochet starting with the second chain from the hook, which is this one right here. And we yarn over, go into the chain, and you can use the point of your crochet hook to get in there if you have the same difficulty I am, and pull up the yarn, bring it through, pull up the yarn and bring it through all 3 loops on the hook. Okay, we're going to do that again with the next chain. Yarn over, go into the chain, yarn over, bring it back through, yarn over, and bring it through all 3 loops. And continue that all the way down to the end, and I'll meet you at the end. All right, I have finished my half double crochets down to the end, and when you get to the end, you just chain 2 and turn your work, and then we're going to half double crochet in each chain down to the end again. So again, you yarn over, go into your chain, yarn over, pull it back through, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Now here you can see I go through the 2 loops here. Let me do that again. It's a little bit easier to see the chain now, and so I've got 2 pieces of yarn. You can see how it's a little bit easier to see at this point. Yarn over, go through, yarn over, and go through all 3. Okay, meet you back down at the end. Okay, I have finished the second row, and what I did was one more half double crochet in the curve here. I just thought it would give me more to work with when I sew this on. And just pull the loop out a little bit, cut your yarn, give it a few inches length so you can weave it in. pull the yarn through, make it tight, and I'm going to do the leaf next. And then once we finish the leaf, I will show you how to sew on the handle and the leaf, so it will look like this. Okay, and then here's your little scrubby. All right, got to do my slip knot so we can get started here. Trying a new lighting. Don't have any daylight right now. Okay, and I know I've got a green hook, but hopefully we'll be able to see this. A green hook and green yarn. Usually like the contrasting colors. So first we go ahead and chain 7. So we go 1, oops, just lost it. Let's get a little closer for you. Here we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, so now that we've chained our 7, we're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So that's 1, 2. You can see that right where my thumb is. Going to single crochet, we just go in with our hook, pick up the yarn, bring it through, pick up the yarn and go through 2. And there's our single crochet. And now we're going to single crochet in the next chain. Okay, so that's right here. Single crochet. All right, we're going to do the half double crochet in the next 2 chains. Pick up the yarn, go into the chain, pick up the yarn and bring it back through. Now you're going to pick up the yarn and go through all 3 loops on the hook. So we'll do that in the next chain. Pick up the yarn, and I'm using the pointer to get into this chain. Just makes it a little bit easier as I mess up. All right, pick up the yarn, go back through the chain, and pick up the yarn and go through 3 loops. Okay. Now we're going to double crochet in the next chain. So our next chain's right here. And we're going to pick up a loop, go through the chain, pick up the yarn, go through 2, and pick up the yarn and go through 2. All right, we've got 1 chain left. Okay, so now we're going to do 4 double crochets in this last chain. So here we go. Here's the last chain. I'm going in, doing a double crochet. I picked up the yarn, and then I went into the chain, pick up the yarn again, come back through, pick up the yarn, go through 2, and pick up the yarn, go through 2. It's not easy working with something small, especially when you have big hands like I do, but we'll get through it. All right, picked up the yarn, I'm going through the chain, pick up the yarn, come back through the chain, pick up the yarn, go through 2, pick up the yarn, go through 2, and we've got to do 2 more of these. Pick up the yarn, go through that same chain, pick up the yarn, come back, pick up the yarn, go through 2, pick up the yarn, go through 2. 1 more. Pick up the yarn, go into that same chain, pick up the yarn, come back through, pick up the yarn, go through 2, pick up the yarn, and go through 2. This widens the leaf. This will be our point down here at the bottom. and where it's going to be wider up here. All right, and I just pulled this a little bit to tighten it up. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming around and come back down on this side. So this is our center vein of the leaf. So we'll be coming back down on this side. So we're going to turn this way. And now what we're going to do is a double crochet in the next stitch. So we did 4 in this stitch right here. I know this is hard to see and I'm sorry, but as we turn it, we're going to go into this stitch right here where this thumb is. And now we're going to do a double crochet. So pick up the yarn, go into that, which is actually the original chain, pick up the yarn, come back through, pick up the yarn, go through 2, pick up the yarn, go through 2. All right. Now what we have to do is 2 half double crochets, a half double crochet in the next 2 chains. So we'll pick up our yarn, go into the next one, pick up our yarn, bring it back through, pick up the yarn and go through 3. Now we're going to do this in the next one. Pick up the yarn, go through the chain, pick up the yarn, come back through, pick up the yarn and go through 3. All right, so now we've done 2 half double crochets, and now we're going to do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So we go right into the chain, pick up the yarn, come back through, pick up the yarn, go through 2. Let's go to the next stitch. Go into the stitch, pick up the yarn, bring it back through, pick up the yarn, and go through 2. Now our very last stitch, we're going to slip stitch. So we just go into the point, pick up the yarn, and go through both loops. And there you have your leaf. And you can make 2 of these, or you can just do the 1. I'm just going to do 1 for now. And we will sew the handle on. Make sure you pull this out so you don't lose it. And let me cut this. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that all the way through. And now what we're going to do is take our Scrubby Rose. We're going to sew the handle on, and we're going to sew the leaf on. And then you'll have it. A nice little gift or something to keep for yourself. You can use this in the shower. You can use it on your dishes. All right, next up. Here is the picture of the rose with the leaf and the handle, and this is so you can see the handle better with the leaf sticking out. All right, I've threaded my blunt needle, and we're just going to place the handle wherever you want to on the back of your rose. And of course you want to do it so that, 2 or 3 of your fingers can fit through. And you just start sewing this in place where you decide to put it. There's no particular way to sew this. You just want to sew it in place. So I'll do this one side, and then I'll do the other side off camera, and then we'll sew the leaf on. All right, so you see I'm just grabbing some of the red and going through the green. And then I'll just tie it off at the end. And if you want it to be a little bit more secure, you can go back. To the other end. You see this? And here we are at the end. And what I do on my last stitch is I bring the needle back through that loop before I pull it all the way through. I just pull it through here, and then that tightens it. All right, so then you cut this off right at the end, and then we'll do the other side, and then we'll sew the leaf on. Okay, so I've got the handle sewed on, room for my 3 fingers. Now we'll sew the leaf on. So just place your leaf wherever you want to place it. I'm going to put it about right here. And I've already threaded my needle. A little bit longer there. And I'm just going to place it there and do the same thing I did when I attached the handle. Yeah, if I can get the other string out of the way here. You see that I don't have a whole lot of tail here, so that's why a lot of times I will leave an extra long tail, just because this needle is kind of long and it makes it hard to, it's getting to the point where it's getting a little bit too short for me to weave this in. So I'm not going to go back across. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and finish it off right here. I'm going to grab some more of the red and just come through right there. And there's my loop there. I'm just going to stick the needle through that loop, that last loop, to tighten it. Pull that out and just cut it off. And there you have it. And I'm going to cut this off right there. And there's your rose, your little scrubby rose. All right, have fun making that. Here's another scrubby that we can make, and I'll probably do that in a future video pretty soon. So be on the lookout for that as well. Here's another future project that I'm going to make and video in the near future. This is a snuggle blanket. It's very, very soft. This is also a snuggle blanket that I made for my grandson in different colored yarn. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the like button. And thanks for watching.